And okay, hello.
Hello.
I'm Sammy Thomas and Fike. I'm the Square Books events coordinator, and I'm your host for this evening. We are perhaps the most excited to be launching Mara's debut, which is called Beyond Ruby Veil, and we have Nina Varela here in conversation with her, which is even better.
Number one fan?
Yes, number one fan, so we're extremely excited. Just a reminder, keep your audio and video off. It's for security purposes. It really helps me out. Great news. You have until tomorrow night to get a signed and personalized copy of Beyond the Ruby Veil from us at Square Books. And by personalized, Mara does doodle, and she will doodle Shrek. That has been a really big request. Or Emanuela stabbing someone. I don't know. Pick your poison, but let us know what you want in the comments when you do your online order, and I believe Mara will draw it for you, which is pretty great. So upcoming events real quick. We have David Leavitt here tomorrow at 5 p.m. for Shelter in Place. We have a meeting of our Crossroads book group, which is our book group that talks about racial injustice, and we'll be meeting with Connor Town O'Neill on Thursday to talk about Down Along with Those Devil's Bones, which is a book about Confederate monuments. So that's going to be really great. In the upcoming weeks, we have Peter Gay coming on with Northernmost, and then on October 27th, which is a Tuesday, we are hosting Ashley Poston for Among the Beast and Briars, and she's going to be here with Caitlin Sage Patterson, and I love them both, so we're really excited about that. And we'll have signed copies of Ashley's book, and that'll be super cool. I heard you might even get a special surprise if you order your book from Square Books, because we got a book box. Anyway, I am going to disappear and let Mara and Nina take it away. If you didn't know already, Nina wrote Crier's War and Ironheart, both of which are fantastic. Oh yes, look, Mara's got them. Vanna White style.
They're back there, and I don't have her book.
Mara has all the books.
Oh my God.
For everyone.
The PDF. It's okay. I still have the PDF. I can reference it.
Yes. And then Mara is here for her debut novel. It's Beyond the Ruby Veil. It's about chaotic lesbians, and we love it very much. And we're so excited she's here. So I'm going to let them take it away. If you have questions for Mara and Nina, go ahead and submit them to me in the chat, and we'll get to them later. All right. Take it away, ladies.
Woo!
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you so much, Sammy. So obviously we are here primarily to talk about chaotic lesbians. That's on the agenda for today. But first, I do want to hear about some basics about you and your process and everything. So on Twitter the other day, you talked about how this book, it grew out of a sort of failure for you. And I want to hear more about that story.
Yes, great question. So basically, the story of this book is that it's not my first book, which I think is quite common for debut authors. Before this, I was writing another fantasy book, and the goal with that book was I was trying to write something quote unquote marketable, which, as we know, is maybe a little bit of a misled errand. But in my mind, I was like, I'm going to stop writing this like weird stuff that I really enjoy writing, and I'm going to write something that I think in my mind is something that people are going to buy and, is going to be like the next big fantasy book or whatever. I think this is probably a stage that all authors go through. So I was working on a book like that, and it was getting rejected everywhere. So it was getting very, very lovely rejections, actually. Like, most people in publishing are quite lovely. So they'll give you a rejection like, I loved your writing, I loved this and that, but no. It's just not clicking for me for some reason.
It didn't connect.
So I was it just didn't connect. Yeah. So I was getting that across the board. And I was like, well, I tried to write something for the market. This was not my first rodeo. Trying to get a book published is usually a very long journey. So I had reached a point where I was like, I feel like this is the point when it should either be happening or not happening. It was not my first rodeo. It wasn't happening. So I was like, if I can't sell the thing I wrote to the market, then like, what is the point? Then I went to bed, and when I woke up, I had like a new idea for another book. And it was about like these two characters that are looking for something. And so I started to ask myself, I was like, what are they looking for? Why are they looking for it? Why is it gone? And I started to write this book sort of compulsively. This is a fun fact, is I actually had like a surgical procedure and like went under anesthesia. And then when I woke up from the anesthesia, I was immediately like, so
oh my gosh.
That might explain some things about the book, is that
you're making the
I
rest
had
of
the
us look
idea.
Bad though.
Am I? Just write your book under anesthesia is what I'm saying. Just do it. So I like it, despite all that, I was like, something is telling me like I have to write this. I have to like tell this story. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, the story is so weird. Like, what made it so weird is it's like high fantasy, but in like a very strange way. It started from like, as we'll talk about later, it started from like a very odd sort of concept of world building. It was very gay. Like, I was like, is this too gay? And the main character was just no such thing. You are correct. This is the evil back of my mind talking to me. And the main character was like such a piece of work that I was like, I don't know who would want to read this. What am I doing? I was supposed to be writing something that is like an easy sell. What do I think I'm doing? But I was like, I can't ignore this story. As much as I tried to put it away, I just kept coming back to it. So the point I'm trying to make is, because I could not let the story go, I revised it and, wrote it and edited it to a point where it was ready to send to agents. And I was like, I don't think these agents are going to like it, but I'm already here. I might as well try. And this is what I think, if there are any aspiring writers here, I hate the term aspiring, but if there are any writers who want to be published who are not yet published here, this is the thing you need to keep in mind. If you're at that point and something is speaking to you, just do it. Do not self-reject, because I definitely self-rejected and was like, I don't know why anybody would want this, because it's so weird. Like, obviously I see something in it, but I don't know if anybody else is going to. But I sent it to agents. I got one agent responded, or like one agent offered representation. Many responded, but one agent offered representation. And it ended up selling at auction, which means that multiple editors offer for it and multiple publishing houses want it. So the secret is, do not self-reject because you think it's too weird, not marketable. Nobody wants to hear stories from your specific point of view. It's all the back of your brain being mean to you. Don't self-reject. You never know.
And I mean, I love what you said about the back of the brain, because like part of the things that instantly drew me to this book and what made me love it so much is how weird it is, because it's so unique. And like the world building of Occhia and, everything that is like literally beyond the veil that that Emanuela and Ale go explore. Like, I want to hear a little bit more about how this world came to you and what was your world building process for fleshing it out and coming up with this like weird, wacky, dark adventure.
Right. Yeah. So this is a question I get asked a lot, because the world of the story is like very dark. People are like, are you like okay? Like, how did you think of this? This is a question I also ask myself, to be clear.
Are you secretly Emanuela?
Yeah, is everything okay in your life that you wrote something like so dark and like bloody? So the world basically, listen, it's art, who can say what I'm really like? So the world of the story is basically, they have no natural source of water. So their only source of water is, they have this woman who rules their city, called the Water Crea, and she has the power to take human blood and turn it into water. So in order to keep their city alive, everybody has to sacrifice themselves to her and give their blood to her so she can turn their blood into water and keep everybody else alive. So it is quite, in their world, it is sort of like a noble thing. Your sacrifice is contributing to the whole city being alive. How do we decide who sacrifices them? Comes from things called omens, which is marks that people get on their skin. And they come from, allegedly, the veil that surrounds their city. So their city does not have a sky. It has a sort of red or ruby some might say, ruby veil around the city. And if you get a matching red mark on your skin, that means soon these marks are going to start to spread. And when they fully spread, you're going to die. So you might as well, give yourself up to this woman who makes water from blood and die now, because you're going to help the rest of the city live. So it definitely is sort of the concept that this was based on. And I've mentioned multiple times before, like 3 days before I got this idea, I was listening to the Little Shop of Horrors soundtrack. And I think it came from that a little bit. This idea.
I can see that. I can see the influence.
Yeah. I also
wait, by the way, I want to highlight your outfit really quick because it's so amazing. There's like this spider web and like the bloody rose. You said Little Shop of Horrors and I just like had to show it off.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, so this is homemade blood. It's food coloring. It's not actual blood. That sounded horrible. It's homemade blood on the rose.
Home harvested.
Thank you. Home harvested blood. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so the concept of the world came from a sort of Little Shop of Horrors idea of you can have the things you want, but you're gonna have to take it from somebody else, which is obviously like a lie. And this is a lie that has been even perpetuated in real societies to, turn people against each other or maintain a certain status quo. So the sort of idea of if you want the city to continue to live, therefore yourself continuing to live, you have to give up your blood to make water, is the most literal interpretation of that lie, basically. Like you literally have to die so everybody else can live. So basically, talking about like how I expanded upon the world, I see the world as like the villain in the story is the way that I see it. This is basically a story, and it's in the summary of the book. The evil woman who turns blood to water, she dies in chapter 3. So like she's gone. The question is, what do we do now? Everybody that's left, wants the best for their cities, and they want to figure out, what to do now, but they just don't know because the world is sort of the villain. The other thing that was important to me in that is that the ruthlessness of the world, this idea of like literally the only way you can have something is to take it from someone else, matches the main character. I wanted them to all sort of feel like they fit each other. So we'll talk about this a little bit more in a second. But
yes, we will.
My idea was like ruthless world, ruthless character. Like they have to sort of go together and form this like beautiful, horrible symphony.
Yeah, and like on that note, obviously I want to talk about my favorite horrible, mean, chaos, power hungry lesbian who I love so much. So we were talking about this earlier. I had fun, writing like an angry girl for Criers War.
This
like
is the second book, obviously. So please also pick up the first if you have not, because the reason Nina is here is because, oh my goodness, I just knocked over my light. We're going great. The reason we are both here.
Your eyeshadow now.
Everybody admire this. The reason we are both here is because we are talking about, as you said, sort of angry girls who love stabbing, who do morally gray things. So if you're into that, just check it out, is all I'm saying, without spoiling.
Now everything else is, we're on Beyond the Ruby Veil lockdown. I don't want to hear any other titles. Nothing.
Ironheart, you can't stop me. You can't stop me. I'm talking about
Emanuela.
So with Emanuela, I obviously really like girls who are unapologetic in who they are, even if who they are is bad. There's something sort of refreshing about reading that. It's quite a common thing in fiction. I think that in all villains, but especially female villains, are equated with ambition, right? So like you have especially like Disney villains like Ursula, they want to like rule everything, and like that's what makes them bad, is they want to like have power over everyone and everything, which obviously if you do certain things to try and have that sort of power, that's a bad thing. But I think
think it's
great. It's not great. That's why they're the villain. But I think it's, really interesting to try and, I guess, sort of, take that perspective back, or write that as the protagonist instead, if you're also writing from like a female point of view or like a queer point of view, to try and write a character who does want everything, and the narrative knows they're bad. Like, we know, but we're also going to show you like all the different sides of this character, versus like, here they are, they're a Disney villain, they have this like Disney song, and like, now that they're evil. Not that I'm like crapping on Disney, but just saying.
We can get a little bit more complex.
Yeah, just
actually, I had
by virtue.
Yeah, I had a quote that I wanted to read that is like,
okay.
I think just so perfectly, it's gonna happen. That it so perfectly encapsulates Emanuela, and it's, I don't care if people love me or if they think what I do is good, but rest assured they're going to know I was here. And I think that's just such a powerful like thesis, especially of like a female character, a queer character, but like, even if, I'm not endorsing the things that she does necessarily, I don't think those are great, first of all, but like, it is so immediately compelling to have this, teen girl who's just like, oh no, like I'm the boss here and you're all going to know it, and the world is going to go with my rules, not its own. Like, it was just so refreshing and powerful to read.
Right, there's a sort of like catharsis.
Stab me.
Please stab me. That's all I want. There's a sort of like catharsis to it, right? Just like and it's sort of the perspective I was writing. Like, I wish I could just be like, you know what, this person is doing great evil, I'm just gonna push them over a balcony and murder them. Is the NSA gonna come into the stream now? I don't know. Yeah. Just
if any FBI agents are watching, we didn't mean it.
Yeah, we didn't mean it. It's fantasy, but don't worry about it. Yeah, but there is a sort of like catharsis to it, right? It's sort of taking back that perspective of just like, we know they're awful, but we're gonna enjoy them being awful. We're gonna, let it happen, let it unroll, and sort of enjoy it as it rolls along. So to answer your other question, was it scary to write that perspective? Definitely, because she's the protagonist, and I had to sort of let go of the idea that I can control how other people are going to feel about her. I had to let go of the idea, like, you think it's sort of common knowledge that like, if they're the protagonist, they should be the one we're rooting for, the one we like most connect with. But I had to let go of those ideas and sort of focus on creating a character that you could see, she was being seen in all her motivations, even if you don't agree with it, which is definitely very stressful to do as an author. You're like, oh God.
Yeah. Like, just getting like into the raw, like, the angry, like, kind of heart of her. Yeah. But it was like, you say you were nervous, but it was like, it was really fearlessly done. Like, it was so fun to read because like, every time, it could have been pulled back a little bit, you're just like, nope, full steam ahead. We are going dark. And it was so nice. I loved it.
Let's do it. If we're doing this, let's do it. That's my motto.
You have to go all the way. And then on that sort of note, like, we have some sapphic elements, which we're going to get to in a second. But like, the central relationship and the relationship that just instantly like stole my heart, even if it has, these sort of unhealthy or toxic elements sometimes, is the friendship between Emanuela and LA. And they, like, I just want to know how you developed them, and how, like, if, one was sort of born from the other, or like how you figured out their dynamics, because like, there is nothing better than a chaos lesbian and her big, tall himbo gay best friends. So I want to hear everything.
There truly is nothing better, right? Yeah, so I always envisioned them as a pair. When I first had the idea for the book, it was not just one character looking for something, it was a pair of characters looking for something. So in my mind, they work because they're sort of perfect opposites. Everything that she does and believes, he does and believes the opposite. I have described them before as like the shoulder angel and like the shoulder devil. but unfortunately the devil is in charge. So that's like the shoulder angel is very like weak-willed and lets the shoulder devil boss him around. So that is the unfortunate dynamic going on there. Yeah, but initially my motivation for including Ale so deeply in the story was quite simple, is that it's really nice to give your main character somebody to talk to, right? If they're you know, traveling around and like all this like weird stuff is happening that they never anticipated, it's just really nice if they have like a friend there and the two of them can sort of unpack plot things together and you can get you know, multiple perspectives on it. But it quickly becomes obvious, or became obvious to me, that he has quite an important role in the story because of who he is. He represents Emanuela's status quo, because the two of them have been engaged since they were like babies, basically. So again, they're not like romantically involved, but they've been politically engaged for their entire lives. And sort of as a result of that, they've become best friends. And they've developed this dynamic, this like leader-follower dynamic where like she's in charge and he just like does, you know, whatever. He doesn't have to, you know, figure out how to navigate anything on his own because she does it for him because she is the way that she is. And this is the hallmark of any story, right? Is that your protagonist has a status quo and then something happens that changes the status quo. So he is her status quo. So if something happens that changes her status quo, it's by definition going to change him. So the events at the beginning of the story, he sees her, again, this is not a spoiler, this happens in chapter 3. He sees her push somebody over a balcony and kill her. And she's like, whatever, basically. She's like, and like, I don't care. So he sees his best friend do that and is like, what have I been doing my whole life, basically? Like, who are you? Like, why are we friends? You know, like how, like, what sort of person are you? What sort of person am I that I am, you know, so close to you? So yeah, that definitely became a central facet of the story. And I do feel like it's very relatable to, I mean, I hope, I don't know, to me, it's, you know, relatable to the young adult genre, because a lot of times in young adult, it can center around romance, but there's so many great young adults that also center around platonic relationships very wisely, I think, because everybody as a teenager experiences fraught or changing platonic relationships. Not everybody experiences a fraught or changing romantic relationship. So a lot of my favorite books are books, and again, there are a lot of my favorite young adult books are books that include both and sort of show the complexity of the teenage experience, because it is, you're growing up and changing, and it's not just that you are becoming, you know, old enough to date in your parents' eyes or whatever. It's also your friendships are changing. You probably, some people you've probably been friends with since elementary school. You're both starting to become adults and you're seeing now what kind of adult this person is going to become. And you're asking yourself, what sort of adult am I going to become? So it was definitely very important to me to make that a central facet of the book.
Yeah, I mean, like it worked so well because, you know, as Emanuela kind of like continued on her like increasingly dark choices and actions, Ale was always just such a good like kind of audience, like not really like relatable, but like, you know, that character who's like, what are you doing? You can't just, you know, kill people. And she's just like, why not? Like, who's stopping me? And he was like the very good, like sweet, like, because there's rules. I loved him so much.
You can't just do a murder.
You can't just do a murder. We have a society.
Yeah, so it's that element. It's like I guess that's like the id and the super ego or whatever. Yeah, when he's like, you can't just like kill somebody, and she's like, but I want to. So yeah, I
have a knife.
Like,
what's the problem?
Like, what are you gonna do about it?
And on that note, I want to talk about Marine, because you know, obviously I love enemies to lovers, and this was such like a satisfying, you know, like the beginnings of that. No spoilers, but you know, I think I won't spoil the ending or anything, but there's elements of certain feelings that are beginning to happen. And it was so satisfying because like it has that classic enemies to lovers, like we've both seen each other at our absolute most horrible, terrible, you know, worst selves. And I'm so excited to see where that builds. And I wanted to hear more about how you developed that as well. And like, because the character of Varela is so fascinating in that, you know, her view on sacrifice is so much different from Emanuela's. And so I want to hear about how you develop those.
Yeah, that's such a great point. As another author of an enemies to lovers romance, in Crier's War and Ironheart, that's right, I'm plugging it again. You can't stop me.
We're on lockdown.
You can't stop me though. What are you gonna do? Fly over here?
That's true. I'm not in Memphis.
I
can do nothing.
Yeah. So I definitely think that you made a great point, that I think what a lot of us love about enemies to lovers is this idea that you meet and you see each other at this like most sort of like feral like horribleness, and you could somehow grow something out of that. You know, you're definitely not your best foot forward. And so I do feel like there's a sort of tacit understanding that grows between enemies to lovers couples if they're enemies for like the right reasons. And I do feel like that has an extra element to me if both of the couple is girls. To me, it feels like there's a sort of additional element of like tacit understanding that like we're both in, like we both know somewhere in our minds that like the reason we're doing these things is because we're in horrible situations where we feel like we have no choice, but outwardly we're gonna act like enemies. But there's like a deeper understanding of like somewhere I understand like we both know this about each other. And we see like our shared humanity and like our shared traits that draw us and, you know, can make us actually build a relationship. Not that actually happens in the first book of this series, but it's getting there.
There's too much blood happening, I would say. There's
a lot of blood happening. It's definitely a slow burn. Yeah, but I love slow burn. It's also, so like I say, it's a slow burn, but the book also takes place over 3 days. So like, is it really a slow burn? I guess.
That's true.
3 days is like a wild time for anything to happen.
But 3 days can be like, it can feel like, you know, in teenage relationship timeline or any relationship timeline.
That's true.
Really,
yeah.
It can be a long time. It can still count as slow burn, I would say.
That's definitely true. I definitely agree. I think it sort of depends on the situation. So creating the character of Varela was really fun because I intended for her, Ale is sort of Emanuela's perfect opposite, right? As I said, they sort of have basically nothing in common besides the fact that they live in the same city and are engaged to each other. Varela was intended to be her opposite in some ways, but in other ways they are quite alike. So the inspiration for Varela came from 2 places. One place is the idea, I sort of got an inspiration from like Disney princess aesthetic. She has like a very Disney princess element about her, but she's my version of a Disney princess, which means that she's very like chaotic and does not hesitate to do certain things that a Disney princess probably would not do, involving like knives. Like she doesn't have the aversion to that sort of thing that a, you know, youthful Disney princess would. The other inspiration was this common idea in fiction. So Emanuela is presented as quite villainous on purpose, right? Like her aesthetic, even her aesthetic is quite villainous. Her attitude is quite villainous. And when she interacts with other people, she does not mind taking the role of the villain. In her mind, you know, as long as I'm being noticed, I can be the villain. That's great. Like, I love that for me. Varela is very heroic. She draws her power from being loved and worshipped. And it's not fake, right? Again, without spoiling anything. It's that she's not like pretending to be a good person. She's genuinely, you know, sweet, and she loves her people, and she really wants to do good for them. So she does have this heroic element to her. But again, because I was writing it, I kind of had to put my own spin on it. So another place that I drew inspiration for her was this common idea in fiction where the hero is like, I can't you know, the villain's like right in front of the hero, and the hero is like, I can't murder the villain because then I'll be like just as bad as the villain. And in my mind, I'm like, but like, I thought we all agreed the villain needs to go, right? Like we all agreed that, right?
You
so
can
like
stoop to their level. It's fine.
Yeah, like it's okay. Like just so Varine is a very heroic character, and she's meant to, you know, sort of be that way and have that aesthetic. But she's also a character who would ask that question as well. Just like, they're right in front of me. Like, if not me, then who? Like, what? I don't understand why I can't get rid of them.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it, is what I'm saying.
Hello, I'm back. It's time for Q&A. First of all, I want to thank everyone for the weirdest Q&A questions I have seen in my whole life. This is great. If you're wondering, your questions aren't going directly to Mara, they are going to me, and I hope that's cool. The most asked question on here is the one I will ask first. Mara, will you Shrek cast your book, please?
What does that mean?
I need you to tell me which your characters, who would they play in the movie Shrek or its sequels?
Okay.
I'm so excited to hear this.
They want Mara.
I'm back. Okay. I died for a second. I'm back. Okay. Shrek cast. So I mean, I guess Emanuela would be Shrek, right? Because this feels wrong to me. This feels wrong to me a little bit. I'm struggling a little bit because Shrek is sort of he's a misunderstood hero. I don't think Emanuela is misunderstood. She sucks, and that's not misunderstood. But I do feel like she would be Shrek, just sort of that, I don't know, antisocial nature to her. Does that make Ale donkey? I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. I don't know if you guys want to watch this.
I do want to point out that Cat Show has already interjected that Emanuela is the fairy godmother from Shrek 2, and she has a point.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now I want to see Emanuela singing "Holding Out for a Hero" in that style.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the second movie, I want to see that.
Let's just say that she'll do that. And she also, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, she has a little bit of Lord Farquaad to her. Like a little bit. Just to, like, some of you may die, but I don't care. That is a little bit her as well. I'm not gonna Shrek cast the whole book because we're gonna be here for 3 hours.
Okay, yeah, guys, I love you so much. That's the only Shrek question we're gonna answer, although someone did kind of answer the other one. Here's another great animated film related question from Christine. If Emanuela did have a big Disney power ballad about her goals, what do you think it would be called?
This is a great question because I do feel like this is something you should think about when you create a protagonist, right? If they would sing a Disney, or at the beginning of any Disney movie or any musical, they sing that sort of I Want song. So this is going to be not a joke. Unfortunately, I'm sure that's what everyone was expecting. But I feel like what Emanuela wants is to be remembered. So it'd be Remember Me is a song in Coco. But it would be something along those lines of like, don't forget me. They're going to know I was here. They'll know I was here. There we go. We found it.
I like it. I like the drama. Rachel would like to know how many books you have planned for the series.
2.
Dose. That's easily answered. Okay, this is a great question from Janella. I am going to read the whole thing. Emanuela is a terrible star of this show, and we love her for it. How are you able to seamlessly slip into the voice of such a wildly flawed and vicious character? Her voice is so distinct and full of life. Did you channel anything or someone specific for it, or are you just secretly Emanuela? We gotta know.
Maybe I am. We don't know. Honestly, sometimes this is the thing, especially because it's written in first person, right? This is the thing about writing somebody with a voice like this. Sometimes I come up with things and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, why? How did I come up with this? I would
That's been dormant for a while.
Yeah. Where did you come from? Janelle and I have actually talked about this, but I would definitely say she takes some inspiration she's in a high fantasy setting, but she takes some inspiration from classic Mean Girls, like Regina George. Blair Waldorf is a big one. Blair Waldorf is also, when I commission art, I send them pictures of Blair Waldorf. I imagine her looking like that as well. So yeah, that's it's sort of my idea was sort of that sort of way of approaching things and that sort of cutting way of speaking and general like meanness to your being, but in high fantasy.
Okay. This is for Nina and Mara. Would your characters survive in each other's novels?
Ooh.
Good question.
First of all, would Emanuela be human or an automa?
I feel like she would be human.
Yeah.
But not happy about it. She would want to like be an automa. Yeah.
Yeah. She would like sneak into
like,
the balls and stuff.
Yeah, she would be like, how do I access this power? And they would be like, you can't. That's like the point. And she would be like, but I'm gonna become one. Like, you can't stop me.
She'd just be like a cyborg kind of thing after a while and just like kick everyone's asses.
She would find a way.
Crier?
How would they do?
I mean, I have to say, like, by nature of them being protagonists in a work, I think they would have to survive. But also because they have a magic spell on them, which is called they're gay and they'll never die. So we've got that covered. They'll absolutely survive. I don't know if they would do it with dignity. I feel like it would get very, very, because I don't know if they could sink, they could like, you know, I say sink, rise to Emanuela's, you know, level. So I think they would like look like cats who had gone through a washing machine at the end of it, but they would somehow survive. They just wouldn't be very good at it.
It's definitely sink. Well, Crier wouldn't have to, so if they, you know, are in this world where you get like marks on your skin if you're human, I don't know. I don't think Crier would have to like give herself up to that even. So she could sort of, you know, fight
brings
that.
Up a whole other,
that's a whole other dimension to it.
Away.
Yeah.
We'll write a crossover fic. It's fine.
Do it.
We're gonna do that. Don't worry.
Emanuela seems to hate feelings. So what was it like writing a character who struggles to show her emotions?
Oh, that wasn't hard because I also struggle to do that. So yeah, the good thing about again writing first person is something I thought a lot about is interiority. You know, even if, and this is kind of the fun of first person to me, right? They say one thing, they'll say, you know, I'm fine, this isn't bothering me at all. And then we read their narration and they're like, I've never been so angry in my life. How can they do this to me? Like, I hate everything. So for me, I really, because of sort of who she is, I focused a lot on that interiority and that contrast between what she says and how she acts and what she thinks. So I feel like a lot of her is in the narration, and a lot of what she wants other people to think is how she acts and what she says, which is horrible and like so much bravado and really annoying and all that.
Nina, do you want to do your bonus round questions? We do have 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Number 1, if Emanuela, LA, and Vereen were modern teens in our world, what would that look like? Like what Mean Girls table would they sit at? What kind of music would they listen to? What is their social media presence like? Does Emanuela make memes?
This is the real question. Does she make memes? So I do feel like if they had social media, that's like a living nightmare, right? Like this would be horrible. this would be the end of social media for everyone, like of enjoyment for everyone else. I feel like Emanuela and Vereen would be like feuding popular girls. Like they would both be like
influencers.
Girls, yeah. Oh, definitely both.
Oh my
influencers. Gosh. And they wouldn't be able to resist the temptation to like at each other into like everything, like just constant like. And then Emanuela's like adding like LA into stuff, and he's like, I was just trying to like watch videos of like cute kittens. Like why? And she's like,
he has like 3 Twitter accounts followed, and it's like baby animals, hourly bird pics.
Yeah, and then her, because obviously she's like, follow me or I'm gonna like do a bad thing to you. Yeah, so I feel like it would be a literal nightmare. Just like the selfies, the filters, the hashtags, and they would start like hashtags against each other. Like they would try and start like actual feuds. It would be horrible. Like, thank God it's not real.
Thank God. And then if we have room for one more,
Yeah.
If you met Emanuela or any of the characters in real life, what would you say to them? If you have anything you'd like to say.
Yeah, so I thought about this one. I think for Emanuela, I would not say anything to her. I'm out of there. I'm not interacting. I'm not getting
Just
in
look
that
away.
mess. Yeah. For Ale, I definitely would say to him, like, just hang in there. You're the kind of person who's gonna blossom when you're in college, which I was also that person. So like, I see that in me, also in him, which is funny because he's in a young adult novel. We'll never see him at that age, but that's sort of how I see him. Like, just hang in there, dude. You'll be okay.
He'll find his people. Oh.
You'll find them.
You're doing great, kiddo.
Okay,
Keep up the good work.
I have one last question, although it's less of a question and more of a statement that I think you should nod to. This is from Kat Cho. Hi, Kat. Don't you agree that Ruby Vale would be an amazing drag queen name? And will you write an adult mystery novel where a drag queen named Ruby Vale gets murdered and title that book Beyond the Ruby Vale as well, thus fully claiming your crown as Chaos Queen?
Wow.
A lot.
Wow, what a question.
But Kat
I do agree.
Yeah.
I do agree that Ruby Vale is a great drag queen name. Yes. Definitely. I want to see this.
Involved.
Yes. This is in the world now for somebody to take and do what you will.
Someone write fan fiction now. All right, guys. Well, that is our time. If you missed any of this, we're going to have a recording up on YouTube tomorrow. Reminder, you have until tomorrow night to get your personalized and signed copies from Mara. If you need a Shrek illustration, she will do it for you. I really love how united the whole chat was in wanting more Shrek content. It's very good. Nina, Mara, thank you so much. This was so much fun. And I feel like we did learn a lot, and we still talked about Shrek, so best of both worlds.
We got Shrek in there.
Yes, we did.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Mara. I'm so excited that it's out in the world. I'm so excited for my copy to arrive. It's amazing. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
everybody buy Ironheart.
Nope. No, we're on. I can't cover it. I can't actually cover it. We're on lockdown. Beyond the Ruby Vale celebration.
You can buy both books from Square Books. Oh no, it's so easy.
You can.
Just do it. It's so easy. Buy them together. They're best friends.
They fit well.
All right. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you.